Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday evening. How are you? I promised to come earlier in the day today and talk about stress, how to handle stress, and what stress really does that is so off putting to others and so, warbling to us. It causes us to destable our energy. It's just one trauma, one more thing after the other that's on the list. But how did stress really begin? Is now we've got this compounded, there's that lag again. We've got this compounded expectation on a daily basis of all these things that we've got to do. Warming up because I just got in. And one of the things I really look forward to is coming here to share with you because, it's something that I both give and receive from, is especially to hear some of your comments and to say, hey, that really helped. Excuse me, that really helped me, or I appreciated it, or something to that nature. Especially if you share them and like them, because then we can start to grow and blossom. So I am an herbalist, and I went to American School of Herbalism in the year 2000. I left California in the year 2002. And now that institute that I went to is called East-West Herbalism. Some of the founders and some of the really awesome teachers were Christopher Hobbs, who's someone that I respect very, very greatly. And I did the herbalism around the same time, I think it was a little before or a little after that I also took the Ayurveda and the Panchakarma from Cynthia Koppel, also back home at Twin Lakes College of Healing. I'd also taken massage school in 1997 over at Lupin, which is a naturalist place, which is absolutely phenomenal. I'd love to talk about that another day. What happened is in the last 4 years, as I mentioned, my son was going through a really incredibly painful opiate addiction following a surgery on his right clavicle. This could sideswipe any one of us, and especially our children. I've got a really, really awesome longtime sister of over 10 years who is an African woman whose daughter is in the hospital having had an issue with her gut and her colon, her intestines. And the doctor's got her on a push button where she can just push it every so many minutes for morphine. This is kind of like an experiment that's being done because although we do need pain relief, and I get that, since the medical industry did not prevent this, and since the education is not widespread, that most of the chicken that people have been eating for decades is full of a very virulent bacterium called H. pylori. It is estimated by most people that are speaking about health and wellness, that are knowledgeable, and agreed to by myself, that about 80 to 85% of the clients I've been helping for 37 years. In the last 25 years, I've been saying out of that time, you likely have some H. pylori. And yet people keep going and ordering chicken and having chicken at home, and chicken burritos and chicken fried rice and, barbecued chicken and all these fried chicken and Champs chicken. And, it's all over the place. This is a modified bird. So our stress is coming in part from being swindled. Our stress in part is coming from a predatory system, which I speak about over and over. Our stress is coming from traumatizations, from being yanked away from mama and put into stranger care called daycare. And some of you might get your hackles up because a lot of guilt comes up. It comes up for me that our little babies feel very, very helpless, and they're not protected in the same capacity that they would be with their own biological blood relatives or those that really care about them, to be put into stranger care. But I was alive during the early 70s where all these studies started coming out, and the television was being used to inform mothers that, children were doing far better. They were getting a head start on being competitive in the marketplace. And so I could really go on a whole tangent on this, but this separation from mama, even brief or long term, is a shunning, an abandonment. It's perceived as a neglect by the child. It's perceived as an extremely scary, vulnerable, and it is. We've learned later that many of the daycares were not all that trustworthy. Many of the pastors, many of some of our family members were not all that trustworthy, or they didn't do things like we did. They didn't eat the same way as in the case of my family. And they were just constantly eating food drugs and food chemicals and hot smart dogs and lunch meats full of nitrates and cow milk that was full of mucus and yuck. And so people were gummed up, starched up from eating their white rice and all the things that they do. And it produces a stress. So what about the other stresses? Like I talk about quite regularly, the stresses of you've got to pay to live. You turn around and the tabs are due on your car and you need gas, and you got to insure the car. And oh my gosh, I can't believe they want to charge me $150 a month just to insure my car and drive it for just a state minimum. And the car payments too. And the mechanic says you need blankety blank to be done, and you really need your employer is asking you to go get a new set of clothes because you need to wear an all certain color outfit, and you'd really like to get your hair done and it's for this reason and other reasons that I said coming into being a natural goddess, a natural woman, a natural man, a natural being is healthier for all of us. In other words, stop the chemical processing of your hair. Get rid of the blow dryers and the straighteners and the curling irons and the fake eyelashes and all the makeup and stuff, and cut it down to the bare minimum that you feel that you can get by so that you can start to subvert some of the dependence on performing in the stadium, okay, the Colosseum, the Roman Colosseum, Babylon. Okay, so stress is why we have so many, especially women, with all of these personality and mood imbalances, bipolar and schizophrenia, is stress. Not just stress to the brain, the mind, the connectedness to the whole, consciousness in the world, but the actual physical brain. The eyes are stressed from staring at the blue light on the devices all the time and staring. We're getting, according to many really awesome chiropractors that I've spoken with, we're actually developing kyphosis. We're ending up evoluting into or de-evoluting into a species that's going to have a really weird curvature to the neck because of what we're doing all the time looking down at screens. Kyphosis. So there's physical adjustments, mental, brain, and then there's the gut dysbiosis, right? Which doesn't need to be spoken that way, just gut pain, diarrhea, loose stools, skin ailments, and rashes that break out because of stress, and eczema that's exacerbated by the stress. The stress could also be coming from the injections and the toxic elements in the body. It could be coming from the medications and all of the side effects to these things, which that's why I shut off TV 37 years ago. No, thank you. What a waste of bandwidth in my brain. So what I do for stress has changed over the years. I remember many, many years ago buying a whole 1 pound bag of ashwagandha when I used to work with OGO, and now that has changed into and been bought by Earth Circle. I'm still with them as a wholesale member, Ultimate Superfoods, OGO, Earth Circle. And I had that bag and I didn't even use it all, along with several other herbs that I knew would be really awesome that I brought with me to Cloquet. And I thought I would package them up into smaller containers so people could take them home and utilize them and get a small pack of ashwagandha or, mucuna or different herbs that I was offering in for different reasons. But the people were so unfamiliar. Now, what is an herb? H-E-R-B. An herb is food. It comes from a plant that's grown, and it may be taken from the root. It might be taken from just the bark. might be taken from the leaves, might be taken from the flowers of the plant. But when I speak about, I think we're going to need to use some supplements, it means that oftentimes what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to infuse substances into the body, warming up now. Infuse substances into the body as plants that are going to give you enough of a therapeutic dose that while you're eating your food, and especially if it's all starch stiffening food, especially if it's all cooked food, especially if it's all processed food, you're not going to be able to really get all of this into your body. And especially if the gut isn't really in a good state. Okay. So some of these are herbs that are known as adaptogens. And adaptogens go in like ashwagandha and rhodiola. And they go in, and various parts of the plant are used, like I just said. And they go in and they find, so to speak, where you have a weakness in the body. It's how I learned. And they go to work. Okay. So, for example, one of my clients is pregnant, and I recommended to her to use the ashwagandha to stabilize her womb, right? Because that's a really good tool. And I've been using ashwagandha, rhodiola, gynostema, sistachi stem, and a combination of things. And I found a product from a company that I've been using for a very long time for my own personal supplements, overcoming my diagnosis of advanced ovarian carcinoma, which is documented. And while I was passed out, like I've explained before, if you haven't heard, that's why sometimes I repeat. In 2008, in May, I was taken by ambulance because I literally blacked out. My son had been police abused in Cloquet with abuse of power in our front yard, and he was knocked down and handcuffed at the age of 12. And I went outside and I was like, oh my God, what's going on? In front of my own home. I was a homeowner. Very lucky and very fortunate to be one in a small, tiny little abode, but it was ours. And I went out there and I was like, you will let him go right now. I mean, I have learned to come from being a very soft-spoken to being someone who can really roar and someone who can really bite, because I needed to be. Because beyond advocating for myself and my little wounded Karen inside of me, I needed to now advocate for him. He needed it. And if I didn't go out there and present my strongest wolf self and say, what are you doing? If I went out there and said, oh, what are you doing to my child? It probably wouldn't have been as effective with 4 police officers that were all taller than myself. And I'm tall, I'm almost 5'10". So at that time, my gut collapsed. I just had watery diarrhea until I just couldn't take it anymore. And at that time, I did not know about a couple of things that I use today. So you see, my medicine has evolved through learning over and over and over again through not only my own experiences, but helping hundreds of clients. Through researching and reading, PubMed and reading hundreds of books, taking many, many, many courses. But it's going into a professional business space where my sign said shaman out front as a shaman and medicine woman, and doing table work as well as wellness work over and over, day in and day out, and several people a day. And then people on the telehealth, that were in different parts of the world that couldn't come in to a physical location. And you learn a lot. It's like a doctor sitting there, and they want, sitting there in their American Medical Association clinic or hospital, they're pretty much trapped down and held down by protocol. They're only allowed, when they pull up that computer, to do a select few things that they can do. They can't really go out and do some of the things. And I'm like, well, I think if it were me, I would do this. Okay. So I'm going to switch the screen over where I'm not going to be seeing myself on the screen, and I'm going to read a couple things to you. I'm also going to show you my shirt because I am a certified African, Egyptian, Kemetic, Egypt and Kemet are the same, yoga teacher. And I did not use it. I got this in 2015 in Chicago, where I went at House of Hotep in Chicago with Yusir Rahotep. And I did the $2,500. What's up? Good to see you, Tara. Awesome. I did the $2,500 Kemetic African Yoga teacher certification in 2015. So this shirt is 5 years old, and I just take good care of it and hang it up to dry. I thought it was kind of pretty. I bought it there when I was there. I think I've gained several pounds. We're coming up on winter, and I've been doing some junkies that I shouldn't have done, like going and getting, a decaf coffee. And I was like, man, it's really packing the weight on. It's also kind of making crusties inside my nose. So I got to stop it. And I'm going to do that. Before I switch over and read to you and show you what I use, I'm also going to just talk just for a little bit about going outside and seeing the snow. Now, you might not have snow. I don't know exactly where you are, but I'm in Northeast Minnesota. And so we have snow on the ground. It's just a little teeny tiny bit. And it's just, kind of fluffy and nice. But when I look at it, and I've looked at it year after year after year from a different perspective, not just looking with my eyeballs, but like really kind of sensing what's going on. And I'm walking the dogs, many times a day. And I look at it, and it's got these big particles to it, and it's got a sheen all across it. It almost looks very plasticized. It looks plastic. And it's what now? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It almost looks plastic. And so I don't know if you have snow where you are, but if you could go outside and take a look at it. I didn't actually touch it. But as I'm walking across it day and night, I'm thinking, gosh, this is really weird. I don't ever remember the snow looking so plastic and fake with big particles in it. It just never, ever has looked like that before. And it's looked different a few years in a row now, probably 5 or 6 years, more than a few. It's looked different. So one of the things about mood disorders and rashes and headaches and migraines and all of the things that come with stress, whether the organism itself, our body, is stressed, it's too hot. We talked about the metabolic yesterday, or it's too cold all the time and the hands and feet are freezing. The body's leaking all this energy. Or it's dehydrated. Or it's toxic elements, which we need to find out through your hair tissue testing. It's like Luna, over here. She actually had really high mercury on her hair tissue test that I did this year. And she was having over 2-hour seizures. Our house is a little messy right now because I'm studying on the back. These are my 2 tables, and they're my work tables. So she had super high to me, very elevated mercury in her hair. So as I took a hair sample as close as I could to her skin and sent it in and did one for little Pablo, which was really trying because I was like, gosh, his hair is so short. How am I going to do that? So I just kept kind of clipping little pieces until I put them on the hair scale. And of course for fire too. And they all had a different disposition, even though they've all been living here for at least 5 years with me and all eating pretty much the same food, healthy and raw and cooked. And then just recently, some kibble. But they have an inherited tissue mineral pattern, and so do you. So when it comes to stress, there isn't a one-size-fits-all shoe. It might be that your stress is really being exhibited by having a lot of anxiety. And another person's stress might be shown by really breaking out with hives and rashes. And another person might be having a lot of excruciating headaches and migraines. They might be having really horrible PMS because now they're high copper and there's estrogens just coursing through the body, and they're tired and their adrenals are just drained down like mine are right now. My adrenals are just beat, But I'm using this product that I'm going to show you. And I'm paying for it. $35 a bottle, even with my wholesale account, meaning I can buy wholesale since 2009 with them. They approved that for me, so it's a long time, right? 11 years. And I know the company. I call them probably about once a year, and I'm on the phone and I'm asking questions. I'm asking them about what's new. I'm asking about details about products. And sometimes I call a lot more than that because I've got clients using it and I've got questions. I don't just assume that, well, it's always going to kind of be the same, or, I go out of my way to call many of these companies that I ask clients to go buy this particular brand and do this. And I know I should have set it up that way as a business person, but I don't get any money back from it. And maybe I will do that in the future. I don't know. But you know how when you buy supplements, there's always one of these little things inside of it. And typically what's inside of this thing is silica, which is another trace element you have to make your connective tissue, to make your bones and your teeth and everything else, right? And so I have a few different products that I use, some that are made out of glass and some that are made out of bamboo. And depending on the client and what's what and how they would take something in and what they need, that's how I select making a good recommendation for them. And I say, I think you might like this one better, but what do you think? Which one do you want? Based on what I'm going to inform you, having used both of them. So this is going to keep your supplements fresh. It's also going to help you. So now I'm going to switch over and I'm going to read a little bit about this, and then I'm going to show you the bottle. So just one moment, please. Okay. So the name of it is called Stress Remedy. I can't see you or messages right now, so bear with me. And how it's worded is, it's an exclusive synergy of organic herbal extracts and adaptogens for natural stress relief. Stress Remedy helps to foster balance and calm while lifting your energy and focus. So the synergy of these food-based herbs, they work together without just hyping you up. It promotes a healthy response to everyday stress. It fosters a more balanced mood and supports a sense of calm. It supports balanced and steady energy levels and endurance. It helps boost mental clarity, concentration, and alertness. And it's made with organic ingredients, non-GMO, vegan, and gluten-free. It sells for $34.95 for 30 servings. I actually do double. It says on the bottle to do 2. When I called the company and I told them I was really, 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 really busted, the most busted I've ever been in my life, way beyond even the ovarian cancer. They said, she said, well, she personally liked to do 4 a day. And she said the owner of the company actually was doing 4 a day, and they weren't busted, but they were just dealing with the stress that we're all dealing with right now. And it was a really good way to help take care of them. So now I'm going to read to you the ingredients in this are ashwagandha root extract. You probably heard of ashwagandha root. It's the adaptogen. It goes in and finds where you need help. Cistanche stem extract, which is really awesome because most people haven't really even heard of it. But there's actually PubMed articles which talk about the efficacy of this amazing herb. It is a traditional energy tonic. There's eleuthero root extract, which is an energy booster. Ashwagandha is an ultimate adaptogen. Gynostemma, Gyno, gynostemma leaf is a stress balancer. Holy basil, which you might know as Tulsi, is a mood balancer. So you can imagine if I've got a client and their moods are all over the place, this is going to be something really, really awesome as something that goes in and day by day starts to build up those adrenals and support this person so they can come out of this psychological imbalance. And then lemon balm leaf extract, which is a mood calmer. Now I'm going to switch back over to the screen. What I found was that I heard inside of myself when I was so off balance. My son, it was life or death for those, especially 2018 and 2019. I was not sleeping. I had such a sleep deficit. It was absolutely horrible. And I worried so much about him because he went through so much, and then he died and I found him dead in his room, which is just like the most ultimate worst pain a mother can go through. And I mean, it hit me like a ton of bricks, worse than a ton of bricks. 3 days later, my body just enveloped in phlegm that has not completely left me yet. So my normal get up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and be just fresh as a daisy and jump up out and be super flexible and feeling good. I'm not even close to that yet, and I'm doing everything I can to build up my strength. And I am using this. I'm going to show you. This bottle right here is called Stress Remedy. It's by a company called Synergy. And for 37 years, I've used just ashwagandha. I've used many, many, many different things for stress to rebuild myself. I've used a lot of probiotics to rebuild my gut and to get myself back into a better place. I've been hit hard by stress, really, really, really hard by stress, like 4 times in my life. And, I guess you'd say 5 if you want to also consider giving birth, because although that's a positive stress, it's a very big stress to the body for us women. So this product is called Stress Remedy, and it's by Pure Synergy. And I absolutely trust this company to use it for myself. And I just bought 2 bottles because instead of it being, what did I say, a 30 or a 60-day supply, I'm doing 4 a day. And what I do is 2 in the early part of the day. Let's see what it says here. 60 capsules, 30 servings, right? So now I'm actually going to get 15 days out of a $35 bottle. And that's kind of expensive. Wait, I can't read this. Got the glasses. I can see it's Whitney, but Synergy is yes, it is. So it is Whitney. I've been using this company since 2009. Like I said earlier, I've called them every single year and several times a year. Typically, like I speak with Dr. Watts quite a bit. I don't just I'm on there and I'm reading books and I'm good, No, I bought his course recently, a couple months ago, and I did through the whole thing. And I was in another HTMA course here just 2 weeks ago. And I've called Dr. Malter on the phone. And I mean, I really reach out. And so I've reached out to this company, which was I think it's still in Moab, Utah. I call them on the phone and I speak with a variety of different gals over there, which are so helpful. And I let them know that I am very, very, very experienced. And I trust this implicitly. It has resurrected me. Okay. And speaking of resurrection, in the Bible, it says that the sun will be resurrected. It said that you will turn and look and face the sun. I want you, if you feel so inclined, I want you to reread through parts of the book of John with new eyes. And I want you to experience that the Bible really has, the hairs are going up on my arm right now. The Bible really has phenomenal prophecy and insights inside of it, even though it was commandeered, it was commandeered by many people over lots of time that thought that they could rewrite it into an allegiance document, a book, a written document that would bind us and keep us, head down, obedient and followers. That's not really, in my opinion, what God wanted from you. And I believe that prophecy was twisted in such a way that you would not be able to make sense, just like the Garden of Eden and Eve, even and Adam, Adam and even, atom and even, Eve and Adam. It's been a lot of years that I've been thinking about this. And it might get your hackles up. You might feel like, how dare she blaspheme and, misrepresent how things are. Well, I grew up with my grandmother reading that Bible and reading it out loud and sharing with me to my little Karen, my little self. This is what we were actually saying here. You're going to need to, I'm going to get it. Hold on a moment, okay? Do you see this? Does anybody know what this is? You guys probably don't know because you're too young. Do you know what this is? Whitney or Tara? Anybody? Anyone, not bodies. Anyone know what this is? I put dried goods in it. And I click it. The little handle here on the side, just push it in and out. This is what we all learned in the 70s in home ec, where you learned to cook a bunch of processed crap, Bisquick and all that goopity, gooking up stuff, right? Going to okay. This is great. I'm really glad to hear that. This is a sifter. And so what we learned in home ec was that we put our flour in here, especially if we were going to bake a cake, and you wanted the flour not to be lumpy or bumpy at all. So if you're going to make a really nice smooth pancake or crepes or, gosh, I know what. I buy a coconut creamer that's really pure, that's just vegan. It's MCT oil. And it gets really lumpy once they start getting halfway to, down to the bag there. And so because it's so lumpy, I put it in here in the sifter. And and then you put the sifter over the bowl. And out it comes nice and fluffy without lumps and bumps. And you might have to take a little spoon or a fork and push it down. This is the situation with the Bible. The Bible is one of the most important books out there. And in order to really be connected with God, in order to really be able to realize good over evil, to realize not just a duality. I don't want to speak too simply because she's not a shaman. It's not just good or evil, black or white. I'm using this as an oversimplification. So please understand and overstand and understand that, okay? In order for us to form a real and true, more perfect union, in order for us to intercept what's going on, which is taking over the grid, the natural, nature, mother-based, loving, compassionate, kind, connected, thinking ahead, instead of domination, domestication, reducing everybody so that, as they become less and less intelligent, then instead of you seeing yourself as greater and better, because now you can say, well, my IQ, like I can say my IQ is very high. And I can tell you that I could work with any one of you over the course of about a year to 2 years, and your IQ would completely blossom, okay? So this is a racket. And so using industry, meaning man-made inventions, to control, dominate, and create an allegiant population, punishing them and telling them their God was a jealous God, telling them their God wanted them to kill their children. No. This has to make sense with you that this is not right. And furthermore, my grandmother was of the firm belief before she passed and transitioned in 2010, Etna Hodges Floyd, she had 2 different last names, that these were all written by women in the temples, and that we were a part of that, and that we have reincarnated over and over. Reincarnation. The flower comes back, right? So the seeds are planted and we come back, but instead of being utilized by a parasite system. So if you read John and you just put into your Google, the Son of God resurrected, it'll pull up the Bible verses for you. And I ask you to read those with new eyes, with an open heart. Because inside, as the hair is standing up on my arms, I swear, you will find the truth. To look into the face of God is not to be afraid of a jealous, terrible God who's going to tear you down and decide if you're going to go to a good place or a rotten place. That's not it. A God would not condone slavery, and a God would not want a woman to walk 10 paces. God is omnipotent. It's omnipresent, right? It is within all of us. And we are connected, and then the shamans were what today we have replaced with priest and pastor, psychologist, and all these different, capacities of our people. When we lived closer to the ground and the land and nature, as you see in the movie Avatar, people were all cooperating. They knew from the time they were little children the difference between right and wrong. They knew. There wasn't sending people away to juvenile treatment centers. We didn't worry that the doctor was going to hand them a drug and kill them like my child. And by the way, I was faxing documents to the DA today, authorizations, because they're going in. And I told them, every step you're taking, and thank you, Eric Schneider with the Minnesota District Attorney's Office for going after the orthopedic surgeon in Moose Lake. I told him, every step you're doing, I'm documenting, and it's going to be in my third book, period. Okay? End of sentence. You are not going to keep murdering children. You've already murdered mine, and I'm not happy about it. And in this whole experience, not even a year and 2 months in, when I had 5 other fires to put out and still tried to get on the screen with clients with rabid anxiety because of everything I was trying to hold. There's no way. I know mothers that had nervous breakdowns with just their children overdosing, which it's not just, it's huge to see them fall on the floor and their lips are blue and you're trying to revive them and and you can't really plan anything because it's always fight or flight. And you can't explain it to someone who's lived a life, who's not experienced that. Years down the road, you may experience it. I hope you don't. I hope that the work that I do in my lifetime, that I'm still willing to do and get up again and again and again, is going to prove to be something useful for you, so that your children and you are not sideswiped as I was. I was absolutely sideswiped. If you could see what I was going through, and you can't, you'd wonder how I'm standing today. You'd wonder, how did I get on the screen and, do consults with clients? And I wanted to honor them and be there for them and take care of them. And in the same time, I was not right. I'm really strongly rebuilding myself now. And I'm probably at about, a certain percentage up. I won't say what it is because that's to give my power away. But I'm going to show you this one more time, and I'm going to look at the questions here. This is stress remedy. I did take a moment to actually talk with the company today, and I said, I'm going to be talking about this product because I reordered more. I went a month and a half without using it, and I started to dip down a little bit. I'm going to get back on it, and I got back on it today. It came in yesterday. I said, can pregnant women use this? And they said, well, they're going to have to speak with their healthcare provider. My sense is most of it's okay, but it's going to really, so I'm not saying pregnant women go run out and take this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you're going to have to look at the ingredients, and you're going to have to review your individual biochemistry, what's going on with you. How is your pregnancy going along? What are your health situations? What does your hair tissue patient report say? And lastly, I am going to be on a video-based blog talk radio tomorrow. You can go to Facebook, and her page name is Vietta, Vietta Robinson, Robinson, and she's going to set the settings to public. It's my understanding. And I will be featured coming on at 7:30 a.m. Central Time. I'll be on for about an hour and a half, and we'll be talking about the germ theory, Pasteur, and I know that she likes to go by Viyata, and I like to go by Shaman. Many of us have made decisions, as I have for the last great many years, to start to shed unnecessary, like my slave name, my plantation name, which I did not choose, nor am I fond of. Nor do I like the fact that the plantation has started to really create a very negative connotation with Karen. So, way to go, plantation. I see through what you're doing. And even my son's partner was like, they did that because of you, Mom. And I was like, well, I don't know about that. That would be kind of grandiose thinking. But, it doesn't surprise me what's going on. So that's what I had to say today. We're at 40 minutes. A sifter. You're a year older than me, Tara. Oh, my goodness. And still don't know. What does that mean? I don't. Oh, Whitney, I didn't expect that you did because, this is something that most of us, but it is a good little tool. Yeah, it's kind of a cool looking sifter. I can't remember where I got it. I think I got it at TJ Maxx, where I get a lot of things really cheap for the kitchen, inexpensive for the kitchen. Oh, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you joining me. And sifters, So wouldn't it be great? I was talking with a man who has land in Belize. It's $3,500 to $5,000 an acre. It's mountainous land, but it's really super ideal for growing food. Many of the people there are melanated, and they're really wanting to participate in living in proximity with other people. So there would be many, many, many parcels that other people would buy. So you'd have your private land. And yet you would be growing food and selling the food to villagers and locals and tourists, hopefully eventually, right? And, having your businesses and having your life there and building from the ground up in a place that has a very hospitable climate and has proximity to the ocean. And so I've been speaking with this man, would I have my own parcel? That's my land. It's not like a homeowners association. It takes time to kind of, sift through all this stuff. I'm also talking with another woman who said 2,000 pounds, which is about I know it's rough, $2,000 for land in the Gambia. And then my really awesome sister in Diane, who moved to Malindi, Kenya, which is a city in Kenya, Africa, which is on one side of the coast. We've got Ghana on the other side of the coast, and then we come down a little bit lower and we've got the Gambia. So a lot of people have moved to Gambia from America, expats. Some people that I was watching their videos and speaking with people that know them personally, they moved in 2016 and they wish they would have moved sooner because they don't have all the bureaucratic red tape in terms of owning a business and all these things that you got to do. And so I'm hoping that some of the African presidents are going to, as I've heard, kind of through the grapevine, are going to say, no way, we don't get out of here with your damn vaccine. You've already injured people enough. Okay. So that's what I had to share tonight. I hope you're doing well. And I always look forward to spending time with you. It really is something that all day I looked forward to. I had some study for the Blog Talk radio show tomorrow. I needed to go fax documents to the DA. I needed to mail out some things, and I needed to stop at a store and all the things that you and I all have to do, right? But I sure would love, I know I would, living on the land, and I don't know to what extent America is going to change in the next year. I really don't know. So I'm keeping my eyes open. I'm staying positive to the degree that I can. I'm a little bit cautious. And then, like I said, on Saturday, I'll be in the presentation that I paid $10 for. If you're interested in joining it, and if there's spaces left, because it was a limited space presentation, it's on my wall at Naturally with Karen on Facebook on one of the more recent posts. Looks like a flyer with Dr. Sherry Tenpenny and Dr. Carrie Maddage. It's $10. And it's to kind of give you some eye-opening. These are people I really respect. And I've done a lot of trainings with them, from vaccine boot camp to many other trainings. I've done her courses on cognitive dissonance and, how do you reach people when they're just, blinders on and shut down? Tara, I think it's really cool that we're close in age. I think that's really awesome. And Whitney, I think it's really great. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. And be well. One love.